How's it, Christian? It's Ian here. I just wanted to go over what we discussed on Friday with regards to creating that SG code. So I just wanted to just step through it. The first thing I want to do is just add the layers we're going to work with. So what were they? They were the SG. So on the data that I left you under the spatial folder vector, the surveyor general stuff. And now you'll be able to go and get the most recent stuff from Plain Street, the Surveyor General at Plain Street, if you need the 2017 or 2018 stuff. We're just going to work with this urban layer. I'm going to turn that on. And this one's pretty big, so that's for the whole of the Western Cape, and we don't need that. So I'm just going to isolate this area here that we were working in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just use my little selection tool, drag a little box over here, and you'll see the rendering takes a little while when you've got such a big shapefile with tons of records and features. So now I just want to save that as a smaller file that we can work with. So I just need to make sure it's selected features are the only features getting saved, and it is in here. And I've created a little projects folder called it University State GIS Spatial Vector. I'm just going to call this Urban. Say OK and OK. Okay, once that's saved and added, we can remove the original one, that one that's quite big and taking up lots of space. So this is one we're going to work with. And then just before we go forward, I just want to save this project, and I'm going to stick it in that same project folder I created. So projects, University of State, GIS projects. I'm just going to call this transfers. Okay, so we got the data we can link to. Now we just need to unpack that Excel spreadsheet that you sent through. Okay, so that I've saved onto my hard drive, and it's also project University of State, so yours will be depending on where you saved it. And it's the tables. This is the original one that you sent me. So I'm just going to open that, and it looks like this. Okay. So I've noticed a few things. I'm having a few formatting issues with this Excel spreadsheet as it is. So just to get rid of those, I'm going to save it as a CSV first. So I'm going to say save as and CSV column limited. I'm going to stick it in the same place. I'm just going to call it transfers. I'll say OK. Yes. Yes. And then just to make sure that I'm not working in the original one, I'm just going to close it down and open it again, and you can see it's dropped all that formatting. All formatting's all gone, and a CSV can only have one spreadsheet, so it's also dropped those other two tabs off. So we want to create the SG code for this earth number and this allotment. So I'm just going to create that little extra sheet, and I'm going to have an allotment. This is for in future you can keep this, and then for every new town you add, you can add the town and then add the new code for that town. And so for this one was C01612337, and then these are just the spaces that we're going to add. This one, actually these are going to be formatted as text. I just want to format those as text quickly. Okay, so this can be 2, and this one is 3, and then this is the portion, and the portion is 5. There are 5 spaces reserved. Now none of the records had portions, so we're just going to assume it's 5. But if they have portions, you're going to have to figure out how to add more spaces, and then using the same formula. Instead of using earth, when you concatenate, you can use the portion. In this instance, they're all 0, so I'm just going to assume they're all 0. For instance, if it was portion 1, it would be 4 zeros and a 1. So that's just something you'll need to figure out if you do come across properties with portions, and that's usually farm boundaries. Farm layers will have portions. Okay, so we need to stick this into a new field, and let's just add it over here. I'm going to call it SG code. Okay, I'm going to use that concatenate function, but before I do that, I just want to sift these all to be in order, because some of them have got 5 values reserved, and some have 6. So I just want to make sure I do them all in order, just to make things easier for me. So I'm going to sort them. I'm going to sort by earth. Okay, there we go. So now we can start with the smaller ones first. So now we're going to use that concatenate function. So if your computers remember it, you can just click it, and the first thing we need to, or the first text we want to select is the actual code. We'll say OK. I've jumped a step. I mustn't push enter there. Okay, so I'm going to start that again. So first step is from sheet 1. It's that one. The second piece is a spacer. The third piece is the actual earth number. The fourth piece is the portion space. If we look at this, there should be 21 digits here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Well, it looks like 21. I think it's 21. Okay, so there we go. So now, this SG code we can copy and paste for this lot. And, okay, so we needed to add in the dollar signs just to make sure that it's selecting only the one value and not the subsequent values. Okay, so just adding these dollar signs in here. Okay, if we try that again, that should work. So let's select that and say okay. Yeah, so if we look at this new SG code, there's the portion, the earth number, and the portion number. So that is working. That's fine. And then we can do the same for the bigger digit. We just got to swap the D for a C, so that it selects out this spacer instead of that spacer. And then we can continue. Copy that and say paste. Okay, and that's saved. Okay, so we're happy with that. So now what we need to do is, the only way I figured out how to do it, we needed, because we've got multiple records per earth, and if an earth has been sold a number of times, we want to be able to select the most recent sale and then the most recent sale price. So we're going to have to sort on date and earth number, and the only way I could figure out how to do that was using a pivot table. Okay, so we're going to do, I'm just going to change this name quickly. So I'm going to show you how to create a pivot table, and there are some restrictions with that, and possibly if you play around with this you'll be able to figure it out, but this is what I've come up with so far. So if we create a pivot table, if you on your keyboard you go Control-Shift-8, and that selects the entire range, and then you go to Insert, we say Pivot Table, and this is going to stick it in a new worksheet, and that's the full range. We're happy with that. We'll say OK. Then this is the new pivot table. So I just need to just say, I'm going to say yes please, I want to rename this. Where is my, okay, rename, I'm just going to call this pivot. Okay, so there's my pivot, and these are all the columns that are being used in this pivot. So we're going to save, we're going to sort with the SG. So if you drag your SG and pop that in rows, then all your SG codes are added there. And then we want to sort on date. So it is sales date. Pop sales date down there. And then we just need to change the setting for sales date, or the value setting, to be the maximum one. Okay. Say OK. And then we just need to convert that into the right format. So if you select it again and you change it from number format to date, and any date format that's going to suit you, we'll say OK. There we go. So there are those dates. And now we want the sales price. So if you drag the sales price, drop it in there as well. And then we can say of those sales prices, I want the maximum value. Okay, so now we can then, if we want to sort out and highlight the sales per earth, we can save this out as a CSV and then link that to our table. So let's do that. First thing I want to do is I just want to dump this. I don't need this grand total, and I also don't want these spaces here. It automatically puts those spaces in because if you start sorting and adding filters, the filter pops in up here. Now, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I'm having difficulty adding the buyer and other data because they're not values. So if you know how to add those, go for it. You can figure that out. But in terms of what we were trying to do, this should be a solution. Okay, so I want to remove grand totals, and I think it's under design here. I just say grand totals off. Okay, so that travels. There's pivot. So I'm just going to save this as an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, yeah, so I need to say save as. We'll just call it transfers edit and make it the most recent Excel workbook. Okay, so we're going to pull this pivot table into our QGIS and see if that links up. Okay, so where's my QGIS? Let's go get that open. So we're going to add a new vector. Well, it's not a vector, but it's a table, and this is how you add your tables. So we browse, and we need to go look for that new table. So it was up there. Projects, tables. Okay, it was the most recent type. So XML transfer edit was the one we saved, and now it's going to ask us which one we want to add. So we're just going to say pivot. Okay. If we open this pivot table, awesome. Okay, so it's done something to the date, but that's not a problem for us just yet. We're more worried about this value here. You might need to rechange your formatting to get the actual date to come through, but we've got the SG code and we've got the sales price here. So that's the most recent sales price and unique. These shouldn't be repeated. These should all be unique based on the pivot table query that we created. So close that down. I'm just going to change this name to something shorter. It's transfers. So I'm just going to call it T. Right, so then we want to join to it. So select your layer you want to join to. And properties, joins. I'm going to add a join. T, that's a new table. And we want to use row label. Is that what it's come through as? The SG code is a row label, so okay. You're going to need to join on SG. The row label is your SG code. It's not ideal. You could always resave that from the spreadsheet. Save this as a CSV. Okay, see, it's labeled here. So I wonder if we change the name here, if that would change pivot table options. Okay, you know what? We're not going to fuss with this. It's going to take too long. So we're going to say properties, and we're joining table T, and it's the row table, and it's just SG 21-digit key. We say OK, and apply, and OK. Then what we should have is a whole lot of new, if it opens, a whole lot of, well, only two new layers here, or two new fields, and there's going to be a ton of null values, but then there will be a whole lot of properties that are greater than null. I'm going to just select those out using this little selection tool. So just open that selection tool and go to strings, fields and values. We say max sale price greater than 0, select, close, zoom to selected, and there we are. We've got our little sliver up there somewhere which we're not interested in, but this is all the stuff we're interested in, and if we select them, it's going to show us the most recent sales price. Okay, and then you can color up on that sales price. The nice thing about doing it this way is it should link, your table should link through. So if you saved up this project and you edited or changed your Excel spreadsheet, those changes should be remembered and linked in here. The only problem with how we've done it so far is in doing the pivot table, we haven't been able to pull through the ownership details. Now that's something you can do separately, or if you want to filter that pivot table into a different table, you might be able to figure it out. But anyway, this is pretty much what we went through, and it's going to be a relatively quick solution for you to identify most recent property sales date by date and then by value. Okay, if we just went ahead and save this as something else, we're going to call it, let's just call it urban sales. Urban sales, okay, turn that off, and then you can color up based on the property value, graduated. Okay, this one is the second of those two fields which we pulled through, which was the sales value. Make this 10 maybe. Change this color to something relevant. I don't know. There you go. So your green are your more expensive properties, and your red are less expensive. That's pretty much it. So let me know if this helps. I'm going to have a look at the other query that we didn't get to look at, and that was using the online GIS cloud to be able to log properties in the field using your cell phone. So I'll create a little video for that next. Okay, shot. Cheers, man.